Welcome to Soundtrack Limited, a place where two friends talk about music to each other. Hey, what's up? Today is February 12th, and it's time for another round of Soundtrack Limited. It's been a pretty weird 24 hours for me. I just found out that Westboro Baptist Church is going to be picketing my school on February 28th, which is kind of ridiculous. I'm planning on writing some songs about aliens and Harry Potter with some friends, and then performing near them, so good times are going to be had. That aside, time for an album review. Let's do Beach Fossils, Clash the Truth. So Beach Fossils was originally the solo project of Brooklynite Dustin Pazer. And some of the first releases that Dustin put out under the Beach Fossils moniker were these jangly indie pop tracks that he recorded in his bedroom, which were marked by these really catchy melodies, loads of reverb, really simple drum machine patterns undercutting these really shimmery guitars, and of course a lo-fi grit because it was recorded in his bedroom. So while some of these songs might have been relaxed or lazy in their studio version, on tour Dustin and his touring band would kick up the energy and intensity a notch, and they became renowned for being this kind of exciting live band. And now we've got Clash the Truth, which, in my opinion, successfully transcribes some of that live energy into a studio setting. Now, there's still some slow burners on this record, like the song Sleep Apnea, which has this kind of lazy French Riviera vibe to it. But for the most part, Dustin's clearly decided to increase the intensity and aggression. None of the songs pass the 3.5-minute mark, and once they get started, none of them really stop and catch their breath either. But most of the thrust from Clash the Truth doesn't really come from the guitars, because they still jangle as they did on previous releases. The punch from this record comes from some seriously awesome and manic drumming. It sounds like the drummer's literally about to explode, but he's using his last moments to create these ridiculous and frenetic drum fills. You can hear this action most clearly on a track like the lead single Careless, or even the last track where both outros have these crackling and crashing drums that sound like popcorn being popped. While the drumming can be explosive and exciting and adrenaline pumping, it sounds a little bit muddy in the mix at points. I think the production instead places its emphasis on those shimmering guitar textures and infectious vocal melodies that Beach Fossils has kind of established itself on. And to be honest, that emphasis is probably for good reason, because the guitar and vocal melodies on this record are really solid.
Life can be so vicious, so we can't appreciate all of its purity.
And it was really great because I felt like I could hum along to most of what Dustin was saying by the second or third listen. But unfortunately, I don't think that his knack for melody really saves a lot of these songs from being forgettable. Whereas the first song has these spoke song vocals, and the third track, Sleep Apnea, which I talked about a little bit earlier, has a psych folk feel to it. These interesting change-ups kind of cease about halfway through the record. In particular, the stretch Shallow Through and Vertigo sounds like a set of homogeneous guitar pop songs that could just as easily fit on a Dive or Wild Nothing record. And to their credit, those are catchy tunes, but when I'm not listening to them, I don't really remember anything about them. It's only when I get to like the tumbling and fragmented feel of Caustic Cross where this record feels fresh and innovative again. All in all, it's an energetic and fun record when I'm listening to it. I'll probably play it at some parties if I ever get the chance, but when I'm not listening to it, most of it doesn't stick with me. I think it's definitely worth a listen if you're into bands like Dive, Wild Nothing, Twin Sister, Lower Dens, Lotus Plaza, that whole canon, but ultimately I was not that impressed with it. I like it, but I wasn't that impressed with it. If you've given it a listen, let me know what you think of it. Robert, I didn't get around to listening to Wowie Zowie, but I will, and I'll report back to you next week. I'm going to give you a question instead of assigning you an album like I usually do. What makes a song catchy to you? That's my question. My computer's getting loud, so I'm going to go. Bleeding Rainbow. Peace.